Raise a hand if you've been on a diet in the last year. How about the last 5 years? How about the last 10 years? Yeah, I see you. Everybody has their hand raised at this moment. And I feel you as well. For about 15 years, if not longer, of my life, I was on and off every single diet out there. And I've now come to a healthier, more balanced place with eating and living my life, which brings me to this conversation today with wellness expert Joanna Rosenbaum Koehn. Joanna, welcome. Thanks for joining us today. Given that we have New Year's right around the corner, we're wrapping up 2022, we really wanted to hop on here and talk about a new approach. We realize that most people are setting New Year's resolutions, new goals for the new year, and we really encourage you to do so. But getting more strict with your diet doesn't have to be the protocol for 2023. In fact, you can actually still reach your goals and eat the foods that you love and live your life. You don't have to live in a box like we did for so many years, and I'm sure so many of you as well. So thank you for joining us on Tailored Health, and let's dive in. Joanna and I want to share a little bit about how we transitioned from this diet culture place into a more food freedom approach. And in efforts to do so, I'm going to be asking Joanna a series of questions and kind of going back and forth, a little bit of a Q&A, and you're going to be surprised by some of these answers. So let's get started. Joanna, tell us, what does healthy eating mean to you?
That is such a loaded question, which I know the answer to that has changed a lot over the years for me. So if you asked me that years ago, I think my answer would have shifted from low fat, low carb, you name it. Like, I can't even tell you how many fad diets I've been through in my life, to now where I'm at in life is realizing that healthy eating to me is fueling my body with foods that allow me to feel my best. So foods that allow me to have good digestive health, good energy, and just enjoy my life to the best I can, use my brain the best I can, all of those things. So for me, I found eating habits that help me to sustain my health in that way, and just really things that minimize inflammation for me. It's a very individualized approach. Like, what works for me is different from what might work for you and for everyone else. But yeah, that's what I would say is my answer to what is healthy eating. How about you, Taylor?
Yes. So me 5 years ago, healthy eating was gluten-free, dairy-free, coffee-free, sugar-free, in bed by 9 p.m. every night, living in a box, eating as clean as possible, using the cleanest products. And that felt like what I needed to do to feel well at that period of time. And now I'm in a place where I'm eating more for joy. What do I want to eat? Whether that is pasta or bread or pizza. And then how can I make that just a little bit healthier? Add some veggie toppings, add a salad, have some broth with it. So it's eating more for joy now and filling my soul, but also finding a way to add nourishment within eating what I'm actually craving.
That's so true. I love that answer. And I think that a key thing with finding that healthy lifestyle too is having balance. Like you were saying, having the foods that you love, but also feeling good. So I love that. Thanks.
Yes. And tell us, how did you find more of this food freedom approach from living this more restrictive, counting, being on diet lifestyle and moving more into this place of joyful eating?
That's a really interesting question. And I think I've come a long way. It's easy to have restricted eating habits when you have dietary restrictions, which I do have. So I have celiac disease as well as a few other food sensitivities. And so that itself can be very limiting and feel restraining at times, where, it affects how you eat in different social situations. For me, I have to honor and respect for myself that those restrictions are necessary parts of my life in order to be healthy and, feel good, and that I just have to stick to my guns and know what's best for my body when it comes to that. But being restrictive in other areas, I've just sort of over time, thankfully, come to learn that that's not been serving me, and finding ways to love, the food that I'm eating, also feel good from it. I guess I'm thankful that I've had a lot of positive influences over the last couple of years, especially, but it's really taken time and effort and consistency, being comfortable doing things that I wasn't comfortable before, like being comfortable not counting calories or not counting macros, deciding that I'm going to let go of that. And, sometimes it takes going backwards and forwards a little bit, taking steps back, forward. As long as you're making more steps forward than back, you're making progress. And I think eventually you lead yourself into a place where you have new habits. And that's what I've been able to do, is just kind of stay persistent with that. But I think my favorite thing, and I mean, we'll probably talk about this more later, but ditching the scale has been really huge in making that shift for me, because the scale has no part in the decision making process of what I eat throughout a day, what I deserve to eat, any of those things. So just learning to listen to myself and trust my instincts, trust my gut when it comes to what's best for me. And I think over time, it's led me to feeling, like I don't have any fear over having a treat or guilt or those kind of things that a lot of us can relate with, I think.
Amen, sister. Yeah, I love that. It is a process, and that is so true, is that the whole diet culture mentality is about counting and weighing in and all of this data. And what happens in that process is that we're trusting these numbers, and we're so far removed from trusting ourselves and what our body is telling us. And when cravings or hunger arises, it's like always seen as a bad thing, but really that's our body telling us that it needs something or that it's out of balance. I love that you were able to work through that. And it is so true that this doesn't just happen overnight. You don't just go from counting and being on or off a diet to just going to 100% trusting yourself with cake and with pizza and with the buffet, because you're probably going to fall on your face at the beginning, especially as you're acclimating. But the beautiful thing is that when you start you're not putting as much weight on foods, good foods versus bad foods, and everything is on the table. These like forbidden foods, the cake, the cookies, the pizza, they're not all that exciting anymore. And you start to choose to eat for health rather than to choose the junkier food items, because they are the forbidden fruits. And we always want that bad boy that we can't have, right? So very similar for me is that I was going through a healing crisis, and I had adrenal fatigue. I had hypothyroidism. I had a lot of inflammation throughout my body. I had mold toxicity. I didn't feel good in my body. And so I tightened the reins on my diet and my lifestyle to feel just a little bit better, like I had control when my health was out of control. And it came to this place where I wanted so much more for my life. I wanted to find love in my life. I wanted to make some moves career wise. Like I saw that there was more possibilities out there, and living so strict and regimented. I mean, I used to bring my own lunch satchel to my folks' place with foods that I could eat and feel good about on like family dinners and holiday celebrations. That was how strict that I was. I didn't even trust my family's food. I brought my own. So that worked for those years of my life. And then I just came to this place where I started dating again. I actually met my now partner, and he ate for joy, not for health. So it was finding that balance and opening it up, and getting the headspace right to allow myself to have foods that always seemed so off limits, and like this wouldn't be aligned with the health that I want to bring to my body. So I opened it up a little bit, and then it just kind of like took hold and just played itself out, is kind of in a nutshell how that played out for me. And when I lived in a box, I did feel maybe better energy. I was sleeping great. But joy was missing from my life. I didn't have that connection. I didn't have that social aspect. And I felt very isolated. This was what I was doing to present as a great nutritionist and to be living what I was preaching. But I wasn't feeling fulfilled. I wasn't feeling happy on the inside. And now I have that and it feels like just this place of balance. So I'm so happy that we've both gotten to that place.
Yeah, it's so amazing. I think our journeys have been really similar in that regard. And it's really interesting for me a little bit. Honestly, I think that doing an eating regimen that removed certain foods that were triggering problems for me actually helped me to shift my perspective on food in general because it became, okay, now like that's not a forbidden food, but that doesn't make me feel good when I eat it that way. Maybe I can make it differently, like pizza. Maybe I can make pizza in a different way where I still love pizza, but it's not going to make me feel terrible. Like, and maybe I can make this in a way where I can still love it, but it's not going to make me feel terrible. So I think learning that shift made me realize like it's not about that thing being forbidden. It's not good or bad. It's just, what is it doing for my body? Is it nourishing me or not? And learning that shift over time. But yeah, I'm so proud of you for how far you've come.
You too, you too. And that was like such an interesting piece, nourishing, and how nourishing your body can look different at different cycles of your life. Nourishing can be getting the maximum amount of nutrients in because you have a diagnosis or a health challenge, or nourishing can be eating foods for joy and nourishing yourself by staying connected. So, before diving into the food freedom technique for yourself, like know where you're at on that spectrum. If you have a true health challenge, you might not be able to find true food freedom, or you might have some bounds to stay within. But if you're somebody who's just looking to lose some weight in the new year, this is a great approach to consider for yourself. So this is a fun question. What was the most exciting food to add back in once you kind of pursued this path towards food freedom?
So interestingly, I love when we came to this realization, but years ago, I had a really hard time with certain foods. Like if I had them in my house, I would just go crazy and eat all of it. And I didn't trust myself around those foods. One of those foods is marshmallows. It's a funny thing. I just think that they're delightful. And so, I did not buy marshmallows for many years because I didn't trust myself to have them in the house, that I wouldn't just eat the whole bag. I knew that I do not need to eat the whole bag of marshmallows in order to feel happiness. But anyways, recently I ordered some marshmallows for fun, and I found that I just have a little bit as a treat, a little bit as a snack, and then I feel satiated and good. And I don't need to, overindulge on them because I'm living my life in a balanced way. I'm treating myself, I'm enjoying, and I'm not feeling deprived such that all of the marshmallows must be consumed right now. So that's just a silly example, but I think that's true when it comes down to it, learning to trust yourself around those foods and realize that you are not your old self and that you can change, and your habits can change too.
Yes, yes, yes. I love that.
Is your
Marshmallows.
food?
Who would have thought? I cannot control myself around marshmallows. Oh my God, that used to be peanut butter for me when I was so healthy. Like we've talked about this before, just going with spoonfuls at the peanut butter jar. But now for me, it's definitely pizza. Like I didn't even remember what pizza tasted like because probably for a good 5 to 7 years, I did not have one piece of pizza. And so that's been fun to let back in. But usually when I have pizza, I'll pair it with a salad or something where I'm having what I want to eat, but I'm also nourishing my body at the same time. So it's about finding that balance. It doesn't have to mean that for every meal you're eating something that used to be a cheat meal, which we'll talk more about the weight on different words that you use and how that can just stimulate this kind of disordered eating pattern. But yep, for me it was pizza. For you, marshmallows. Done. So how about your favorite food? What is your favorite food right now?
I thought about this, and if there's one thing that I could not have, I think I'd be really sad if I couldn't have smoothies. I just really love them. And I love like adding different fruits in them. I'll add different frozen fruits. I'll add different types of like a healthy fat to them. Like I recently have been on a kick where I love putting tahini and some cinnamon in my smoothies. And it's just like, they're really nourishing to me. And I really enjoy the first and the last sip, throughout every day. It's just, always something a little different. And just, yeah, I really, really love them. So how about you?
Oh yeah, I could get down with a good smoothie. I was doing smoothies for breakfast every single day for many years of my life, and I do love a good smoothie. I will say sushi is probably my favorite food. I also love roasted Brussels sprouts, and I love sweet potatoes too. So what's so interesting is that we are now in a place that's not diet culture. We don't have to eat anything specific. We can eat whatever we want, and yet we're still choosing smoothies, veggies, sushi. Like these are the foods that we're gravitating towards. And that's the beautiful thing about food freedom, is that when you can have anything or everything, you are empowered to make a choice based on what you actually feel good consuming. And these are foods that leave you feeling lighter, more energetic. They don't drag you down. They don't make you want to take a nap on the couch after eating. So we're gravitating to those properties and the after effect rather than in the moment, just that instant gratification.
Yep. And I still have an ice cream bar sometimes, or, whatever
Oh,
it is,
yeah.
don't get me wrong. So like, it's great to feel like, smoothies are not like a punishment for anything. They're something that's just
Nope.
coming from pure joy for me. So, yep.
Yeah, it's like being a kid again, having ice cream or that like cold, cooling kind of fun, oftentimes with tropical fruits and things that are really just yummy and nourishing on a different level. So, what's your favorite thing about food freedom? Kind of this new approach and new way of living?
Honestly, the stress of not stepping on the scale every day. I used to religiously, and it's funny, even though I knew that the scale didn't define my worth, like deep down, I knew that if I gained a pound, it could be water weight, it could be, bowel movements, it could be hormones. Like there's so many different reasons why the scale fluctuates, but I still had this, compulsion to step on the scale every day. So when I put the scale away and stopped caring, and my clothes still fit me. I enjoy life more, not thinking about what the scale says and just living my life. So I think that's probably the biggest thing for me. And what comes along with it is not having any guilt or shame or, like regret tied with my decisions for the day. Like that should not be tied at all with a number that I'm seeing on, a scale. So that is
Yeah.
probably my favorite thing. What's your favorite thing from finding food freedom?
Yeah, I agree with the scale. Stepping on the scale, I weighed myself every single morning, and if it was up, even 0.5, it was going to be a day where I felt bad and kind of down. And if it was down 0.5 or more, it was like, ooh, yeah, I like this day. So that I will agree with that. But I think my biggest favorite thing with this movement and kind of finding it for myself has been the stress relief, like the weight off my shoulders and the time commitment of always having to spend so much time meal prepping every single day, but especially on the weekends, working a full-time job with a commute on the front and the back end. And then my weekends were spent predominantly in the kitchen. I always made 2 detox soups every single weekend, roasted up vegetables, made a salad, made salad dressings, made fish or chicken for the week, hard boiled eggs. I mean, that took multiple hours, at least one day of meal prep, like consistently just staying in the kitchen. And to have that weight removed and let what I'm jonesing for kind of dictate how I eat for the day, I would say that that's priceless. That the stress of that and having to stay so restrictive is hard not to feel like you've made a lot of progress and feel the relief from that. So, yeah. Yeah. Well, Joanna, I could keep talking with you about this for many more hours, days even. And actually, we will be talking a lot more about it upcoming we are offering a free workshop on January 11th at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. It's an hour-long workshop, interactive. There will be lots of exercises and goal setting for the year come 2023. And if you really enjoyed this content, you want to hear more from us, you want to try a different approach come 2023 and see if it is possible to reach your weight loss goals, reach your energy goals, better sleep goals without having to be so restrictive, I really encourage you to join us on January 11th. We will drop the link below for you to register for that free workshop. We hope to see you there. Thank you for tuning in. And Joanna, thank you so much for joining us today. We look forward to talking more with you soon. Happy holidays and Happy New Year, everyone.